Tour de France winner, probably the greatest cyclist of all time. He was Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year, ESPY's Man of the Year multiple times. He's one of the best cyclists ever on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. A cancer survivor, a legend, a big, warm welcome for Lance Armstrong.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I have been told that I have to talk extremely fast because if you look back there, it's very black. But no, we can all get wet. I'm used to getting wet. It's no problem. Just as long as we don't get wet tomorrow. It's an honor to be here in Columbus. Mayor Coleman, Governor Strickland, Dr. Gee. This is a special, special event. NetJets, thank you very much for stepping up and supporting this event, making sure that everybody that's out there tomorrow, whatever you've done, if you've asked your neighbor or your class or your workplace to help you, all that money is going to go to fight this disease. That's a big deal. We have put on a lot of events over the years as part of our foundation, and I got to tell you, there's a lot that goes into the overhead of these things, and to have a company stand up and support that and just say, hey, the rest is for you guys. And not to mention, it's for the James. And that is, yeah. That is not just your corner hospital or your corner oncology shop. This is one of the leading hospitals in the world. And I've had the honor and pleasure of being on the President's Cancer Panel for many years and listening to testimony from doctors and researchers and scientists from this hospital, and I can tell you it's truly world class. So when we pedal tomorrow, you can think about them, you can think about the work that's going on there, you can think about your loved ones, think about your friends or family, whoever's affected by this disease, which in fact is everybody that we know. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. The trick about this disease, and I get asked all the time, and I hear stories all the time about the 42-year-old woman that walks into her doctor after she's been diagnosed with breast cancer and says, I want Lance Armstrong's drugs. But the only problem is that Lance Armstrong had testicular cancer, so you don't want his drugs. So people sometimes don't understand this disease. Very complicated disease. It's one word and hundreds of illnesses. So they'll all be treated differently and cured differently and researched differently, and we have to understand that, and there will be successes along the way. There might be a guy that overcomes this disease and wins the Tour de France 7 times. There might be somebody, maybe. But in and amongst this fight, we call it the cancer continuum, and the first step of that is prevention. They'll tell you that half of all cancers are preventable. Let's make sure that happens first and foremost. Second step is screening and early detection. Just to give you an example, of the 57,000 deaths every year in the United States of America from colon cancer, every single one of them is curable and preventable if we catch that disease early. That's got to happen in the United States. The third one is access to care. And as we all know, we're right in the middle of this huge debate in the United States about how we provide the best health care to everybody. It's a tricky topic. Nobody seems to have the answers. But I can tell you that the time that I've spent fighting this disease, there is a difference between what we know how to do and what we do. Look at New York City, for example. You could go to the heart of Harlem, where I have been and spent numerous occasions with Dr. Harold Freeman, and you see a minority community that maybe doesn't speak English, or the color of their skin isn't the right color, or they're not from this country, and they die. You go 4 or 5 miles away to the heart of Midtown Manhattan, you look at all the investment bankers and all the people there shopping at Barney's, and they're all cured. That's what we call the difference between what we know and what we do. We have the medicine and the technology and the science to cure the people that need it the most, but we're not doing it. So as my good friend Dr. Freeman, who runs this center in Harlem, says to me, he says, Lance, as long as that happens in the United States of America, That's a moral and ethical failure. And I think he's right. I think we have to solve that. The fourth step of the continuum, there's 6, we're almost there. Fourth is scientific research. And that's what this is all about. Just so you know, up until the last, maybe it'll change under this administration, but under previous administrations, they have actually shrunk the budget at the National Cancer Institute. Shrunk it. It's the #1 killer in the United States of America. 1,500 Americans every day, and they have taken money and resources away from it. So how do we reverse that? How do we solve that? Well, guess what? Look around. That's how we're going to solve it. Bike rides like tomorrow. And it wouldn't hurt to have a couple $1 billion out of the new president. One time I got asked to go mountain biking with President Bush one time, so I went. He lived near his ranch was near us in Austin, so as we were walking out, he said, what can I do for you? And I said, well, you know what you can do for me? You can give the NCI $1 billion tomorrow. And he looked at me like I was crazy. I've asked people for, $100, $1,000. I've never asked anybody for $1 billion. It felt pretty good. The fifth part is survivorship, which is very, very near and dear to my heart. It's not just important that you survive this disease. It's important that you thrive after this disease. It's important you get back on your bike. It's important you have a family. It's important you have your job back. You have your community. That's what's important. We want to survive, yeah. But we want to thrive. We want to have the highest quality of life that we could possibly have, that we had before this disease. So this disease is no excuse to ruin your life, even if you survive. And the final piece is end-of-life care. If unfortunately it comes to that, we all have the right and we all deserve to die in peace and dignity and pain-free, and it's something that unfortunately we have to address, but very, very, very important to all of us in this fight. Those are the 6 things. That's how we solve the problem. I know it's more complicated than that, but I think it's an exciting time. And I think if you walked into a place like the James and you asked the researchers walk in the halls and you said, hey, what's going on? Literally, what's going on? How are we doing? They would tell you it's an amazing time. They would tell you that now is the time to fuel this thing, to put fuel on this fire, to give us the resources and the money and the morale that we need. And so from one cancer survivor to, I'm sure, thousands more, I thank you. I thank you for being here. I thank you for doing 2 things. I was thinking about that. I was riding my bike this morning. It's like, why am I going there? And I said, I was in my mom's house in Plano, which I was glad to leave there, because you never like where you grow up. But I said to myself, and not in a bad way, I just said, why am I going up there on my bike? I said 2 things. I said, number 1, I like to ride my bike. And number 2, I hate cancer. And that's why I'm going up there.